On the 9th of March 1997, just 6 months after the death of Tupac Shakur, another rap icon was brutally murdered. At 1:15 a.m., Biggie Smalls was pronounced dead at the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Biggie and Puffy traveled to LA for a series of promotional appearances. Big was really looking forward to his album coming out later that month. He hoped it would clear up a lot of misconceptions about him and show people that he had nothing but love for California and the West Coast. Tensions were still high after Tupac's death. Some people even wondered if Puffy or Biggie had anything to do with his murder, especially as he destroyed them with his diss track, Hit 'Em Up, and he was very vocal about his beef with them. Many say Biggie had no business going to LA so soon after Tupac's death. Even Puffy's bodyguard said threats were coming through, targeted towards him. So why did he decide to go to LA with Biggie? Many in Biggie's close circle were concerned about him going, but he reassured them that it would be fine. Biggie's first engagement in California was an interview with San Francisco radio show The Doghouse. During this interview, he expressed concerns about his safety simply because he was a celebrity. He said, "It's not just rappers. They're going to attack anybody that's a large figure. They did it to Jordan. They did it to Tyson. They did it to Bill Cosby. They're going to attack you if you're on top. It's your job to bob and weave. I need a security. I can't beat everybody up. I'd go to jail. There are certain things you do when you get to a certain level." So Biggie felt relatively safe because he had security. At the time, Puffy and Biggie's security was managed by Eugene Deal. He revealed that a fatal error of judgment was made that night. More on this later. After San Francisco, the Bad Boy crew made their way to LA, where they were set to appear at the Soul Train Music Awards. LA was popping that weekend. All the big names in hip-hop and R&B were in town. Toni Braxton, Aaliyah, Mary J, Genuine, Missy Elliott, you name it. Biggie's estranged wife, Faith Evans, was also in town. She was still mad at him for his reported infidelities and having a whole girlfriend while they were still married. A girlfriend that was basically her twin. Their paths would cross later that night. On March the 7th, Biggie attended the 11th annual Soul Train Music Awards in Los Angeles. He announced Toni Braxton as the best R&B / soul female artist. As he approached the stage, your boy was booed, making it loud and clear that the crowd didn't welcome him to LA.
And the Soul Train Music Award goes to... What's up, Cali? You're making me high, Toni Braxton.
The following night, on the 8th of March, Biggie and Puffy attended the Vibe Party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. This was another star-studded event and included guests such as Khadida Jones, Janet Jackson, Belle Biv DeVoe, Mary J, basically all the celebrities who were in town for the awards show. But also in attendance were members of the Southside Crips and the Bloods, so potentially things were going to get ugly. Keefe D was also there. Keefe D is Orlando Anderson's cousin, the man thought to be behind Tupac's killing, who got into a fight with him the night he was killed in Vegas. The night before Biggie was killed, Puffy had a conversation with Keefe outside the House of Blues. According to Keefe's book, Compton Street Legend, Puffy told him all his plans over the next couple of days and invited him and his boys to the festivities. You see, Puffy was tight with the Southside Crips. He even asked them to look out for him whenever he was in town. The situation with Suge and Tupac made him very uneasy, and he knew that Suge had ties to the Bloods. Puffy allegedly asked the Southside Crips to, quote, take care of Suge and Tupac. Make of that what you will. But according to Keefe, there was a $1 million payment offered for getting the job done. So after Tupac's death in Vegas, they were expecting the $1 million, but they never received it. Now, allegedly, Puffy actually wrote the check, but somebody on his team ended up pocketing the money for themselves. If that transaction had gone through, Puffy may very well be in prison today, allegedly. The stories that have come out over the last couple of years have really shown that maybe Puffy isn't as innocent as he makes out. At least with Suge, you know what you're getting. Doesn't pretend to be anything he's not. On the night of the vibe party, Puffy warned Keefe that the FBI were in the building. They were even following him around. Keefe returned the favour by warning Puffy that some Bloods were there, and you know at the time the Bloods were associated with Suge. Now it appears Puffy had a full sense of security because the FBI were there. He assumed that they would protect him if anything was to go down. The party actually ended up getting shut down due to overcrowding. All the celebrities made their way outside and began to wait for their valets to bring their cars around. Biggie and Puffy were already in their cars. Biggie pulled up first, spoke to Keefe, and told him that he and his crew would be at the Beverly Hilton that night. He invited them round. He told them to come through and bring their Cali weed. They laughed and his car pulled off. Next up was Puffy, who invited them to a barbecue at Aaron Spelling's house the next day. Around 3 or 4 minutes later, someone came running up to them, shouting, "They shot Biggie, they shot Biggie." For decades, there has been speculation about who shot Biggie. Was it revenge for Tupac? Was Suge Knight behind it? Biggie's mother, Valletta Wallace, even took the LAPD to court. She has always maintained that they were behind it, that they had something to do with it. Throughout the speculation, the LAPD kept getting brought up. Some even believed there was a government conspiracy to get rid of rappers.
The government hates rap, man!
But what was known was that Suge had crooked cops working for him. Cops who just couldn't leave the streets behind. Cops who didn't know if they wanted to protect and serve or be gangsters. Last year, retired FBI agent Phil Carson, who worked on Biggie's case for 2 years, spoke out in an interview with the New York Post, and he mentioned a name. Since this name has already been revealed in the press, I'm just going to say it. Phil said, "All the evidence points to Amir Muhammad. He's the one who pulled the trigger. There were plenty of others who helped orchestrate it and allowed him to pull the trigger." A cover-up was also alleged. Keefe D said in his book that Suge and the crooked cops who worked for him was behind it. The Post article also reported on Suge's alleged involvement, saying, "Death Row Records founder Marion Suge Knight financed the hit on Brooklyn rapper Notorious B.I.G., an execution carried out by Nation of Islam convert and hired hitman Amir Muhammad with the help of corrupt Los Angeles cops." Carson called it the biggest miscarriage of justice in my 20-year career at the FBI. He said, "I had evidence that LAPD officers were involved, and I was shut down by the LAPD and city attorneys inside Los Angeles. But according to Eugene, who saw the shooter, the real target was Puffy. Puffy's car ran a red light, and that's what saved him. He says he believes this because when the shooter approached Biggie's car, he actually hesitated, indicating that he wasn't expecting to see Biggie there. But nevertheless, he proceeded to shoot.
So now, we pull out the driveway. When we pull out onto the driveway, now this is the driveway. We pull onto the driveway, and I don't know the street, is it Wishaw or Fairfax? Which street is right there on the side of that? Is it
Not sure.
Wishaw or Fairfax? Well, whatever street is right there, when you come out the driveway, you gotta make a right turn. So we parked up in the driveway. So it's Puff, it's Big's car. And I still think we're waiting for Paul and them car. And so then Kenny said, "You ready?" He said, "You're ready." I said, "Kenny, run the next 3 lights. Run the next 3 lights, Kenny." Kenny said, "For what?" I said, "Motherfucker, run the next 3 lights, Kenny, or I'm gonna drive. Run the next 3 lights." Kenny just took off. When he took off, we got past the light because it was a flashing red light. We got past the light, and we got across the street. Tone, who was behind me, said, "Yo, somebody in the car pointing a gun at Big and them." I goes to open the door. Next thing you know, you hear it say, "Pow! Pop, 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 pop."
According to Eugene, Biggie's last words were "just do it" when they were debating about whether to drive him to the hospital and how to get there. They drove him to the hospital, but on arrival, he was pronounced dead. Biggie was shot 4 times. It was the 4th shot that proved fatal, severing several vital organs upon entry. It's really sad to hear Eugene recall the events of that night. He said there was actually an ambulance around the corner outside the museum, and he kind of blames himself for not flagging them down instead of driving him to the hospital. But due to the nature of the 4th shot, I don't think there was anything that they could have done. I don't think it would have made a difference. The incident could have been avoided, since Eugene had intel about threats against Puffy's life. But Puffy decided to continue with the night. If it was me, I would have been on the first plane home, along with Biggie. Biggie's life and death is set to be depicted in a new movie, produced by Don Siskosi, called The City of Lies. Siskosi is one of the few people who has seen the court documents, which have now been sealed. He said, quote, "All the answers are in black and white," end quote. Will you be watching? Comment below. An FBI report obtained by The Post supports these claims. The claims about Amir Muhammad, claims about Suge, and the crooked cops. So they're aware, and they believe they have merit. Phil Carson also confirmed that Puffy was the original target. He said that he informed Puffy of this, and that he was, quote, "pretty freaked out." I personally don't see how this is a surprise to Puffy, since Gene warned him that night. Investigators call Biggie's case the JFK assassination of the rap world. Sikosi's film production crew and Phil Carson have urged law enforcement officials in California to renew the investigation. I'm personally thinking about writing to them, asking them to renew the case and give us some updates. Valletta's civil case in 2002 against the LAPD remains sealed under order of the federal judge. The murder investigation remains open, but there has been no activity for years. So are they trying to protect the LAPD and cover up their failings, their failure to weed out the bad ones? Or is there just not enough evidence to proceed? This is an impossible situation. Somebody has been named, but yet no further action has been taken. Kinda similar to Orlando Anderson. Everyone knew him to be the person named as the one who killed Tupac, yet no action was taken. Maybe because no one came forward as witnesses. and he ended up getting killed himself just a couple of years later in a shootout at a car wash. It was also revealed that Amir Muhammad has some ties to LAPD officer David Mack. He's actually the godfather of 2 of his children. David Mack is also a registered owner of a 1995 black SS Impala with chrome wheels, the exact description given as being driven by Biggie's shooter. As for the accusations against him, Amir Muhammad told the Los Angeles Times in 2000, "I'm not a murderer, I'm a mortgage broker." He said, quote, "The story made it sound like I was some mystery assassin who committed this heinous crime and then just dropped off the face of the earth, which is the furthest thing from the truth." But Phil Carson insists that the accusations are backed up by eyewitness testimony and some other circumstantial evidence, including a connection that Muhammad has to David Mack, who was a former LAPD officer, also on death row's payroll. He served time in prison for a robbery at the Bank of America in 1997. They managed to take off with $722,000 from that robbery, money that was never recovered, and it's believed that this money was acquired to pay Muhammad for the hit. So what do you think? Do you think they need to be more active in solving this case because a lot of evidence is coming out? Or do you think that an innocent mortgage broker is being dragged into something that happened over 25 years ago? And what do you think could have been done differently for all of this to be avoided? And do you think the allegations against Puffy are true? Is he as innocent as he makes out? Mr. Brother Love and all that. My heart goes out to Valletta Wallace and Biggie's children and the rest of his family, especially knowing that there's a lot of evidence out there that points to the killer and points to people involved, but nothing is being done. Perhaps to protect the LAPD and cover up the part they had to play in all of this. I hope justice is done soon and that the truth is revealed. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts below. Like and subscribe for weekly videos. And don't forget to click the bell for more.